Your Minnesota Vikings have a chance to go 6-1 with the victory over the Arizona Cardinals. Jamie and I were going to break down that game and give our score predictions right after this. This Sunday at US Bank Stadium, a game that I will actually be going to. Thank you, Work, for the tickets to this game. Minnesota Vikings take on the Arizona Cardinals. Actually, it's funny. Vikings versus Cardinals was the very first game I saw at US Bank Stadium, and they won. So let's hope history repeats itself. I go to another Vikings Cardinals game and they win. I have never been to a Vikings game where they lost. So everything is working out well for the Minnesota Vikings to pick up a victory and get to 6-1 over the Arizona Cardinals. But as we saw last year when we played in Arizona, this is going to be no easy task. Arizona, they present a ton of challenges. First off, let's start with thing number one, and it actually is number one on their roster, and that is quarterback Kyler Murray. Say what you will about Kyler, say what you will about Call of Duty coming out this weekend, him playing that instead of focusing on the game. But Kyler Murray is a talented quarterback. He's a talented athlete. The guy can run. Vikings have never been good against that type of quarterback. He's got a good arm. We saw a little bit of competitive flair from him last week. So Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. Nuke Hopkins is back. Their running game was big last week. They have other weapons in the offense as well with Robbie Anderson as well as Rondell Moore. They have a good stable of running backs. Benjamin played well last week. So the defense has its work cut out for it. But the offense has a chance to put up some major points on a team that allowed Andy Dalton and the New Orleans Saints without Michael Thomas or Jarvis Landry to put up 34 points on them. So, again, it's going to be tough because of the quarterback and what they have on that offense, but the Vikings still should be able to pull it out, especially at home. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, 34 points, even with 2 pick sixes. I 100% agree. I think Kyler Murray is it's just like the kind of quarterback Kyler Murray is the quarterback I'm kind of nervous to go against for the Vikings. But yeah, man, I don't know. I just think that we are. I think we are the better team, and I do think that we do have the better offense in general. And I talked about this. We did the video and podcast for the Purple Coast. You should go check them out as well. And actually, as you're listening, you should also subscribe to our channel here at the GG Sports Podcast of Minnesota Vikings. Hit the subscribe button, just like I said, and hit the bell, get notifications for more of our videos. It's just that we're hoping that coming from after the bye, like going into the bye, we're 5-1. I do think, even though we're 5-1, I do think us, the fans, and the players know we weren't playing to our best abilities. And I do think that there's a good chance that we went into the bye week, and a good coach like Kevin O'Connell will look to see what we could have done better. And I do think we're going to come out swinging. If that happens, I think every single team in the entire league should worry about it, starting with the Cardinals. So I do think that's what is going to happen. And I think our offense is going to be firing on all cylinders. And I think we're going to see a lot more consistency from them. Our defense, I think we have to figure out the scheme thing, and that still kind of worries me. I know you mentioned this to me recently that they're talking about Patrick. We're going to dive into this guy in a little bit here, but Patrick Peterson is going to line up a little bit closer to the line, which is huge for us because that's been one of our biggest concerns on defense. And I think in this game, my biggest concern is going to be Kyler Murray and his ability to scramble and get out of the pocket and make plays with his legs and with his arms. And it's going to be time for our defense. This game is going to be time for our defense to step up. I think that's what's going to happen, because I think our offense is going to do what they need to do. And if our defense can step up and slow down their offense, at least the offense that we saw from them last week, if that's what happens, they do have DeAndre Hopkins back. I think we win this game, no problem. Yeah. But we can't take it. I do think we're against a team that has kind of a talented offense and definitely good players in positions that I feel like we don't always play the best against.
Right. Because we saw last year what Kyler Murray did to our defense when, if you allow him, if you break contain If you allow him to go out of the pocket, he's going to beat you with his
Exactly.
legs. If you get some pressure on him, he will make mistakes. He's done that so far this season. So that's really the biggest thing is contain, but yet somehow you got to get some sort of pressure on him. And, Patrick Peterson playing a little closer to the line, playing a little closer up to the receiver will be great. But also, we do need to remember he's not the Cardinals with Patrick Peterson, Patrick Peterson of old. Still good, still talented. He's a smart cornerback, or one of the smarter cornerbacks in the league. He's been there. He's seen everything. But to expect him to go one-on-one, man-to-man with Nuke Hopkins,
right?
Sometimes we probably win, but also
before you keep going, hold that thought. Let's we have our X factors here. We might as well just jump into it because
that's kind of already the conversation that we're having here.
Yeah, so it is our first one is Patrick Peterson versus DeAndre Hopkins. We do think this is the most important matchup of this game.
Yeah.
And now continue after Patrick Peterson covering DeAndre Hopkins is a big task, and he'll probably need help with that. But what were you saying?
Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins came back last week after a 6-game suspension. People were questioning, how's he going to be? He was hurt last year. Is he going to be that same dude? Yes. 10 catches, like 104 yards or something like that. No touchdowns, but the guy is still a menace. He still catches everything that comes his way. There's even one, like him and Kyler Murray are in tune. Like they showed a couple of his passes where he wasn't even turned around yet. Kyler threw the ball and Nuke turned, hit him, right in the chest, caught the ball. Like those two know each other well. So, and like you can't expect Patrick Peterson to cover him one-on-one. Like you got to do something. You got to give him a little bit of help over there. But that we need to do something with this defense. You got to, as we talked about in the past with Donatel's defense, you got to play. A lot of teams play that shell coverage, a 2-deep safety shell, but you got to do something different because you're allowing these great receivers, Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave, to just kill you over the middle. If Michael Thomas played in that game against us, who knows how many catches and yards he would have had because of that. So with a guy like Hopkins, you can't take him lightly because he can beat you anywhere on the field. So I think Patrick Peterson, again, is he going to be able to hold up just one-on-one with him? No. So you got to give him a little bit of help. But Patrick Peterson is still good enough to where if he has help, he can at least slow him down and not allow him to get deep and get wide open all the time. So this really is the biggest matchup. And, Cam Dancer, while he has made strides, yes, I know he's still allowing a crazy, like a quarterback rating against him, decent completion percentage. So, yeah, it'll be interesting because I wonder if they'll maybe have Peterson stay on Hopkins or what they're going to do there. But this offense, man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough game because of what that offense is capable of.
And especially with DeAndre Hopkins back. I mean, it was a different story if we were able to catch them before he was able to come back from his suspension. But with a guy like him, I mean, you're talking about someone that a lot of people would say is the best wide receiver in the league. And honestly, probably was considered that before last year when he was going through his injuries and stuff. And Devontae Adams kind of became that player. And now Justin Jefferson is going to continue being that player. So that's something that they're going to have to worry about, and that's their problem. But yeah, I mean, this guy's a beast. He's a big receiver that, he's the alpha possession receiver, the guy that's going to go for that ball, big body. There's not another cornerback in the league that probably can go up against a guy like that because, especially most cornerbacks, unless you're like a Richard Sherman or something where you got some good size, a lot of these cornerbacks are really good. It's more of like a speed thing. Than just being big body and being able to, box someone out. So it is a big concern. And that's why I'm not sleeping on Arizona. Like I know they've been inconsistent this year, but you can't sleep on them. They do have, I know people talk shit about Kyler Murray a lot, but man, that guy does have some talent and he's like one of those players that he can be inconsistent, but man, when he's consistent, I think he really can be one of the scariest quarterbacks to face. Just because honestly, of what he can do with his legs.
I will say that I think this is our biggest test since Philadelphia. Because if you look at it since then, you got Detroit at home, who they gave us a run, but they didn't have. I don't think DeAndre Swift was fully healthy in that game.
Nope.
As well as Amon-Ra St. Brown left early. The following week, you play the Andy Dalton-led Saints, and you barely beat them. The following week at home, you allow the Bears to come back big on you. Then last week, you're playing against Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson. So it's like, this is the first time we've had a team basically at full strength, other than no Marquise Brown for their offense, but it is what it is. And their defense is sus.
Dude, I totally forgot about
Yeah,
Marquise Brown. What
yeah,
the
I
heck?
know.
He didn't even play last week, did he?
Nope, he's out for a while with an ankle injury. So,
Dude, I actually didn't know that, and
yeah,
actually didn't even notice that. That's crazy. That
yeah,
that tandem could be like this Arizona offense. They have some great talent there, and I
yeah,
think that it's a talent that, even us with our power rankings, we have a hard time bringing them down too low because it's just like, man,
yeah.
their
Well,
offense has
yeah.
talent.
Well, Nuke, Robbie Anderson, and Rondell Moore is a
Oh
pretty solid
shit, I
one, two,
forgot about
three.
Robbie
Plus,
Anderson.
plus Zach Ertz at tight end. I mean, he's not what
Yeah,
he used to be,
yeah,
but Zach Ertz is still a very competent tight end on
right,
the field. So
right.
the
It's
defense
going to
has
be
his
a
work
challenge.
cut out for sure. And that's the thing. I think that's why I think this game could be, I don't know about high scoring, but a high yardage affair,
Yeah,
just because of what both of these offenses have, and the defenses haven't shown to be much at this point. The defense,
right,
obviously, for them, J.J. Watt, Isaiah Simmons, they have some other pieces there as well. But for the most part, man, these are two offenses that could put up a lot of yardage and
right,
maybe
right.
end up being a lot of points as well.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I honestly think that we're gonna come back and our offense is going to look a lot more consistent the way that we were hoping going into the season. But I do think it's really gonna come down to our defense stopping their offense. They really do have a lot of talent there. And if Kyler Murray's, digging in his bag of tricks, it's going to be hard to stop. And I think our offense, I think is going that's why I think it potentially could be a high scoring game, unless our defense can come in and slow them down. I don't think their defense is going to slow us down. I think we have too much talent. I think Justin Jefferson's too good. Delvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, all those guys. So I really, really do think that's going to come to our defense. And honestly, obviously, outside of Kyler Murray and keeping him in check, actually, we'll go into that pretty quick here. Keeping this guy DeAndre Hopkins in check is going to be huge, and who better to be the main guy to do it than a guy that used to play for the same team
Right?
in Patrick
Sure.
Peterson.
For
But
sure.
that being said, let's go into like the second most important thing is going to be slowing down Kyler Murray. And exactly, you hit it right on the nail when you're talking about when you're kind of breaking that containment on defense and letting him get out of the pocket and make plays with his leg. That's like something we have to figure out because we haven't done that. Even though the only time we've had to worry about that so far this year is against Jalen Hurts, and we did terrible at it. And years past, we've always done not good at it at all. And it is still probably my biggest concern is these quarterbacks that can make plays with their legs.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure. And that's why I think Eric Kendrick's going to be huge on this one because, athletic linebacker, he's going to have to, if you got to spy, you got to spy him, But Kevin
Mhm,
O'Connell,
mhm.
they asked him about that too. It's like, does putting a spy out there hurt the rest of your defense? He said, yes, of course it does. Because, of course, you're taking one guy who's
Right,
watching that quarterback instead of watching another player on the field or,
right,
doing his normal job. So it definitely does take away from it. And obviously, revenge game part 2 here with Jordan
right,
Hicks.
right.
He's gonna have a part in this as well. So it's tough. It adds another element, and I know you're big on having a quarterback that can move for that reason because the
Right.
defense.
Yes.
Because you take away other players in the defense because like they need to focus. Like this quarterback, if we break contain, Tom Brady ain't
Exactly.
going to beat you running. So then you can
Right.
do whatever you want just to get pressure on him and force him into making some bad throws. But the guy like Kyler Murray, you force pressure and one guy goes cuts in too far, he's just going to run around you, and who knows what happens after that.
Exactly. And one thing we do know for sure against the Eagles team and Jalen Hurts is we definitely did the quarterback spy thing, and you could argue that we paid way too much attention worrying about Jalen Hurts with his running, which is actually kind of weird just because of how we were playing off the wide receivers, which was weird because we continued playing off the wide receivers anyways after that. So, I mean, there's one thing I do know about going in this game is we just should not play off the wide receivers, and we should just not get Kyler Murray into um some sort of rhythm, completing all these little short passes that we have been doing for all these other quarterbacks up to this point, all these short throws because we're playing off of them so much and we're creating these high, I say it all the time, but high completion percentages from these quarterbacks. Like we cannot create that rhythm for them because you're just opening up so much stuff, I think, when you're doing that. especially that I know we don't want him to run, but I don't think that is the way to do it. And I do think we're gonna have to go into this game and play a little bit more press coverage against, and it works out well against a guy like DeAndre Hopkins because he isn't someone that's going to absolutely burn you with his legs and stuff like Marquise Brown. We don't have to play him, who is someone that might do that. So this is a game where I feel like we definitely can maybe get away with playing a little bit more press.
Yeah. So we'll see what they decide to do there. But yes, our defense against their offense is the biggest part of concern for this game for me. We talked enough about their offense. Let's turn around and talk about our offense a little bit. And we were both talking before this. We think one of the most important things is going to be getting Delvin Cook in our running game going against his defense. Now, Elvin Kamara and Mark Ingram were able to make some strides against his defense last week.
Yes.
Elvin Kamara had a pretty solid game. But man, like this offense, you feel like it'd be much more balanced if we get Delvin Cook rolling a little bit. Now, Delvin, I've been critical with injuries, money he's making. I think he's slowing down a little bit. And you see that. I think there's proof of that when you watch him run on the field. But we all know we break off that 53-yard touchdown. He always makes me eat my words with something he does in the game.
He's not done
Delvin
yet.
Cook, I know the guy is still talented. I know he's quick. I know he's fast. Has he lost a step? Sure. But it would just be much better for this offense if you get him rolling. Maybe even more as a pass catcher as well. Just get him involved so they can't just key in on Justin Jefferson,
Yeah. And I'm pumped about this.
A balanced offense always helps, especially against a defense that is, overall pretty weak.
And we've seen this going from ever since the Packer game, since the Eagles game. We've seen us and KOC creating, making the other players more involved to create exactly what you were saying, that we can open everything up for every other player on this team. And it seems to keep getting better as we've gone into the season. And honestly, against Miami, it was probably one of the best we've seen, where you're getting the ball out to other guys like Adam Thielen and Delvin Cook earlier on to open things up for Justin Jefferson. And I think we definitely have to continue doing that. And and I think we are going to, and I think if KOC went back and looked at tape and everything, and it seems like he already is headed that direction, you get that time to think and see what you can do to make this team fire on all cylinders. I think that's exactly what you would do. And against a team that has according to PFF, has a 55.1 overall defensive grade, which is obviously terrible. 52.8 run defense, which is why we think Delvin Cook should be in this. 46.2 tackling, which, when it comes to tackling, I think a running back is one of the biggest beneficiaries to a team that doesn't tackle very well. And then a 49.7 coverage grade, which is also super bad. So it's like our offense is against a team that is not good on defense, especially in areas that we excel at. And I do think that you get Delvin Cook the ball early in this game against a defense that is not good at tackling and not good against a run, and you can create opportunities, especially creating specifically for guys like Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne, when you're up against a defense that has a 49 coverage grade. I think this is a game that we're going to see KOC use all the talent that we can. And that's what I'm really hoping for, because that's what we need to do. And I think we're going to see a very consistent offensive game this game. Or this.
I can see it.
Yeah,
I sure hope so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. There's a lot of hope here. I can say there's a lot of hope here. I am banking on that 5-1 momentum and KOC being that kind of coach that goes back and figures out what is wrong and fixes it. But I think it all starts with knowing that, I don't care about all the other fans that are sitting here and be like, hey, we're 5-1, just be happy, just be happy, just be happy. Like, I am happy that we're 5-1. Like, I'm pumped that we're 5-1. That's huge. But I'm not going to tell you that it's been perfect. I'm not going to tell you we even deserve 5-1 100%. I'm not going to tell you that for sure. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. Our quarterback, Kirk Cousins, thinks that. Our other players think that. Kevin O'Connell's the first head coach. First time head coach, you have to give him, you feel like you need to give him a little leeway. But I know he's sitting there and he's not like, hey, we're 5-1, but we're like destroying teams or anything like that. Like, they know that there's issues there. And seeing that they know that is a huge sign of relief, just because that they know they're not just 5-1 and they don't feel like they need much to fix. We're 5-1, but we know that we need stuff to fix, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's really the biggest thing with this team is like Kirk Cousins put it best when he said like it's an inverse of last year where we're not playing our best ball, but we're winning games, and that's great. You'll take that, but you want to be more consistent. You don't want to be having those lulls like we have. So
right. And I think that's what's going to happen. And I think a lot of that earlier season stuff really came down to not using our playmakers the way they should, or just, not timing it right, not opening the game up for like Justin Jefferson by using the run or getting the ball to Adam Thielen. Earlier in the games, for sure, we were not getting the ball to our other receivers, wide receivers other than Justin Jefferson. And then it almost felt like we weren't giving it enough to Justin Jefferson. So it kind of gets you back into that rhythm. And you do have a head coach that is only improving, hopefully. And I do think, we had that perfect bye week for him to go back and reflect on everything that's happened to this point. And he's a smart guy. And I think he will go back and be like, all right, like I seen what we did. I seen what was working or what started working. And he already knew going into the bye week that getting the ball to these other players and using all these other players to set up other players was working well. And I think he is going to come out with that same thing, especially against a defense that's not really good. And that's why I think our offense is going to be great this game. And I do think it's really going to come down to our defense. And at the end of the day, I do just think we have the better team overall. And even if our defense doesn't play very well, but our offense plays very well, if it comes down to that, our offense versus their offense, I think we win this. So
I'm excited to see how he's going to coach coming out of a bye week. That's always what you want to know. Like, what's the mentality of this team going to be coming out of the bye week? And I think he's going to come out firing. I think they're going to come out hot. And I think they're going to win this game. But before I give my score prediction, I want to push it over to you. What's your score prediction for this game?
So you mentioned to me before that, and something I didn't think about, and I have to mention this again, was just the fact that Modern Warfare 2 is coming out. And this is going to sound almost like a plug, but it's not. It's a game that I grew up playing. So I'm going to say, I don't even care. I'll plug them anyways. Modern Warfare 2 is coming out. Kyler Murray has even a more obsession than me or anyone I know when it comes to Modern Warfare 2. And I don't think he's going to be able to focus on the game plan coming up this weekend. And I do think that's going to hurt the Cardinals. So I was going to, and I said this in the TPC thing, I'm going to give 34-24. I was going to do 34-27, 34-24 because of Kyler Murray's addiction to video games.
All right. Interesting. I'm going 27-24. I will never give this Vikings team a big victory until they prove to me that they can do it. They haven't proved that to me yet. They keep everything close. They keep it exciting. But hey, when you go to the game, that's what you want. You want excitement. Vikings win 24-21. Greg Joseph does what he didn't do last year, finishes off the game with a game-winning field goal. Let's call it a day. The Vikings get to 6-1, and we just keep trudging forward. Let us know what you think about this game down in the comment section. Put your score predictions, and we'll see you guys next time on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.